One of the questions that I have been often asked is how did I manage to get 335 out of 340 in GRE? Especially considering the fact that I really don't come from an English medium background. And English is something that I picked up while I was doing my undergraduation in mechanical engineering. Now, there are few things that one has to understand about GRE. One, GRE is not IIT JEE. So GRE is not an exam of intelligence. It's more an exam of hard work. And that is a good news for me because I have never been a very intelligent person. My 10th class marks is about 60, 12th class is about 66. But one of the life's truth I have realized while I was doing in my engineering is hard work is a choice. So I decided to work very hard. And that is exactly what happened while I was preparing for my GRE as well. Now I realized quite early that for me to get a good score in GRE, I had to maximize my score in the quantitative reasoning side because mathematics has always been my strength. But when I first wrote my diagnostic test offered by ETS for GRE, I was stunned by the fact that I did not score well in the quantitative reasoning section as well. And that is when I realized that the problem in GRE is not that maths is tough, but it is tricky. There are many tricks which are there, which if we are not able to identify, then we end up committing silly mistake, end up with an answer. And the amazing thing about GRE is that wrong answer will also be one of the options. So I still remember the first time when I wrote the diagnostic test, I was hell sure about the fact that I had done well, only to be badly disappointed when I saw the final result. So I realized quite early that therefore in GRE one needs to practice mathematics extensively. One cannot take it for granted that look, I know how to solve, because what is important is to identify the traps that GRE sets and be careful not to fall into the trap. So what I did was very simple. I practiced a lot. And my recommendation has always been that whenever you are practicing in mathematics, practice as many questions as possible. But what is more important is all the questions where you are making a mistake, see to it that you are documenting it. Today we are in the online era, therefore documentation is much more easier because every action of yours is captured. The reason I say documentation is because whatever question that you got wrong today, 1 week from now, go back to that question and read the question again and try to quickly recall the trap that GRE had set. Therefore, what happens is the next time a similar question comes, you are in a lookout for that trap. Now, that helped me extensively because not just did I write many questions or practice, write as test, try to do it fast. More importantly, I was able to develop an ability to predict the trap that would be provided by the GRE the moment I saw a question. And this is not something that can be taught. This is something that you need to start recognizing, and this recognition comes when you practice. So please go ahead, practice as much as possible, but remember to look at questions that go wrong. I did find the area of statistics to be tough. I don't come from IIT. I don't come from engineering college where mathematics was, emphasis was high. So statistics was a challenge, and in GRE, statistics is emphasized. So that is one area where I did put extra preparation in terms of understanding the theory behind it. Standard deviation concept, the variation concepts, all those were quite new to me then. By the time I went for GRE, I was very confident that I would do well, and I probably did do well too, but I did not get 170 out of 170. I actually got 169. Even today, I do not know where I lost 1 mark. So the point here is GRE can be tricky. One has to be careful about it, but practice will give you that confidence. Now, one recommendation I do have is don't go for US books when it comes to mathematics, because most of the books give low level questions because US audience is not very strong in mathematics. But their books are very good for the verbal reasoning side. All right. So let me now switch to verbal reasoning, how exactly I prepared. My ability to remember is very bad. My memory is bad and pathetic, and that is probably the reason why I messed up my school life, because in India, by-hearting is an essential trait, and unfortunately, God has not been very liberal when it comes to my ability to remember things, you know. So I spent more time learning words, and the only way I could remember words was to go to it again, again, and again. Now, initially, I did what everyone does. I had a list of the words alphabet wise and tried to by heart it. But I realized the fact that that method was not working, because after I finished one page, which had about 50 words, I went to the second page. I realized the fact that by the time I went to the third page, I had forgotten the first page one. So I found myself revising the initial words so many times that I was not able to move forward. So the way I finally tackled this issue is to try to read words randomly, but more importantly, try to group the words. Uh, Deepthi, my friend, now my wife as well, she was also preparing for GRE. Having a partner for GRE helps, because then what happens is you can make, play with the words. So I would give her a word, she will tell the meaning, then she would throw a word, I would give the meaning, and that having fun actually helped us pick words fast. So vocabulary is something that became quite strong. And today, in fact, in Condira Online, I teach vocabulary. So you need to be innovative in methods of learning words, but vocabulary is something that you need to do constantly. It is not that you will do vocabulary and then you will move to sentence completion, then you will move to reading comprehension. No, while you are doing sentence completion, reading comprehension, parallelly vocabulary has to be done till the day of your GRE. All right, that is something that we religiously did. The second area where I identified myself to be weak was a reading comprehension, because as I said, I don't come from English background, so my reading skills are not very good. My first novel I picked up was during my engineering, and I am not such a huge reader. But one thing I realized as I was writing the GRE mock test was that many of the topics in the reading comprehension either came from American history, American culture, apart from, of course, science, etc. So what I did is I started reading a little more about it, getting to know a little more about it, especially the cases like civil war that took place in America, issues of black. For example, pick up any GRE test, you will find at least a passage related to these. Now that helped, because once you know the background story, your speed increases. I'm a mechanical engineer. You give me an article in mechanical engineering, I'll be able to breeze through it. But if you give me an article, something to do with medicine, I will be slow. So what happened was, because I started reading a little bit about American history and the challenges, social issues they had, that created a context for me that helped me understand the passage and therefore helped me answer that as well. I ended up losing 4 marks in verbal, which I consider to be good, because I don't think I could have done much better. Finally ended up with 335 in the GRE. So my strategy, which I advocate to my students now that I am a teacher myself, training students for GRE in the Condira Online platform, is that in quant, it's more about practice. It's about making mistakes. It's about reviewing those mistakes, remembering those mistakes, understanding the tricks that GRE plays, and then not falling into the trap. When it comes to the verbal side, it's about being in touch with words constantly, romancing with words, rather than trying to make it as a core. Don't look at it as something a burden, then you will not understand it. Don't go for 1,000 high frequency words and all that. That's bullshit, because not necessarily those thousands are the one that will come to you. These are random ones. All right. So my suggestion is the words which you can complete, because there are certain words which you can remember because of your background. There are certain others which I will be fast to remember. So basis your background, start remembering these words and then do a bit of practice. But the beauty is, if you are able to get, let us say, 168 in quant and you're able to get 145 in verbal, which is not very tough, you are still touching 313, 315. Which is a decent enough score. And after that, if you can still improve on your verbal, that's great enough. All right. So that has been my experience. Today, I enjoy the GRE pattern. I keep saying the GRE quantitative reasoning questions are fabulous. They are very beautiful. They're simple, but they're tricky. And if you can really enjoy solving them, believe me, you will have fun. Okay, do have a look at the Condiro online platform's high score GRE offering, which we provide. I take classes, I take vocabulary classes, and I'm very good at that. And one of the reasons I'm very good at that is because I'm an idiot. I have my own set of challenges. My memory is pathetic, my intelligence is limited, and the fact that I have been able to get 335 gives me a confidence that others can also do. So I have seen many of my students get very high score, even those who come from non-English medium background. So as I said at the start, GRE is not a test of intelligence, it's a test of hard work. And that's a good news, because intelligence is something that we may have, we might not have. Hard work is a choice. So choose it.